Two of the basic types of energy we've talked about are gravitational potential energy. That's the energy that something has if it's in a gravitational field. That means it can't fall, and it's always relative to some baseline level. And then kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion, which we're all familiar with in our everyday lives. And of course, the energy of a system can go back and forth between those two forms of energy. So if I take this ball bearing and place it here, it has some gravitational potential energy, meaning it can fall from this height down to a lower height. And as I let it go, we see that that gravitational potential energy gets converted into kinetic energy, moves faster and faster and faster until it reaches this spot. And at this point, all of its gravitational potential energy relative to this point has been converted into kinetic energy. Then it has a lot of energy of motion here, enough that it carries it back up this ramp and that it slows down, and its kinetic energy is converted back into gravitational potential energy. That process continues. If we let it go, eventually it'll come to a stop because there is the force of friction acting on this. And that force of friction acts on the ball as it's moving, constantly doing work, opposing the motion of the ball, and converting some of that energy from kinetic energy into thermal energy. You can hear the ball moving a little bit, so there's some of the energy is going off into sound waves, and some of it is going into very gradually, very minute amount, heating up the temperature of the ball and the temperature of this track. It's fun to do a little race here. You have the two balls, they both have the same amount of gravitational potential energy here because they're at the same height, they just follow different paths. If you let them go at the same time, you can see that they both end up at the same point, but not at the same time, because the ball on the forward track goes to a lower level and therefore ends up traveling faster. It has a greater gravitational potential energy compared to its lowest point than the ball on the back track has a smaller amount of gravitational potential energy. It can only drop by about this much. The ball in the front can drop by a greater amount. It ends up going faster and therefore gets to the finish line first.